Welcome to HomeFront Sitrep. I hope you're in for a great show today because I'm just a veteran talking about what's on my mind and maybe yours.
You can find HomeFront Sitrep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can also check out HomeFront Sitrep's YouTube channel.
Buckle up, the show is starting. Welcome, everybody, to a Monday edition of HomeFront Sitrep. How is everybody doing? Miss Candace, how are you doing?
I'm wonderful. I just got down to the wall because I've been working all day, but it's still quite a few people here, and I'm just trying to catch up because work was fun today after being gone for.
I bet it was.
So
they did
lovely volunteers from here at the wall bring me lunch today, so that was a plus.
Nice. So you got lunch delivered to your day job, and then now you're at the wall. So they did the closing ceremony. I guess there was a lot of people there.
From what I hear, I missed it.
Yeah, so it's been pretty busy all week since the 24th. You know, when we brought it in, and tomorrow it leaves at 9 a.m. 0900. And it's been pretty steady. So how has your week gone out there, Candace?
My week has been amazing out here. Honestly, it's kind of one of those things, you know, how I get into things and it's not really a set. Candace is doing this. She just runs around and fills in the spots, and that's what I do best. And so that's what I've been doing. And
I know the days that I was out there every day except for today. I didn't go out there today, and I wasn't out there 2 days ago. I guess it was on Saturday. And it's just, you know, you just jump in where you fit in, wherever they need you. And that's kind of what I did when I was out there. And, you know, if they needed somebody to drive the golf cart, I jumped on, drove the golf cart. If they needed to take somebody somewhere, I took somebody somewhere. So,
right. I think it was so much fun when I did that, doing the golf cart that you stole from me, by the way.
Yeah.
In your pink poncho. But yeah, like some amazing people. Not only the family members, the people that were on the wall, but some of these Vietnam veterans that came in and visiting their brothers. And because I can say just brothers. Vietnam, it was men. There was women that mainly were in the Navy, but I think everybody on the wall, aren't they?
What's that?
Everybody on the wall are men, aren't they?
Mm.
Regardless, they're visiting their fallen soldiers that they were with, and it's been the most humbling, heart-wrenching, heartwarming, wonderful experience. It's a beautiful tribute to our fallen soldiers, and it's been really special with this Cost of Freedom tribute because a lot of people that are coming and have been here had no idea what that was or what that entailed, or even that it was going to be here. People that came to just see the wall caught that, and it's been amazing to see a tribute and honoring some of these other fallen heroes. So it's been wonderful.
So our guest who's in the green room says there's 8 women on the wall, all nurses. So there are 8 women on the wall. What's up, Mr. Rich LaMonica? Yep, he says that there are women on the wall as well.
Yeah, you'll have to be updated on chat because I can't see it the way that I'm doing it out here.
Right, right. So you can't really see it, but I'm actually wearing my Soldier's Cross veteran shirt. It's real faded, but it's a Soldier's Cross, and then it says, oh, I can't read it upside down. But anyway,
Come on, Marine.
I know I should have read it, but it's something like not forgotten. I can't remember the exact verbiage on it, but I love it. And it came that way, like it was faded for a reason. And I love it. It's one of the cool shirts that I got from it's a grunt style shirt. It's one of my favorites. Mr. Candace, yeah, Mr. Candace. Rich says hello, Candace and Willis, just north of you in Indiana. So
Come
he's on
on,
the
Marine.
sun.
Your last day to come to us.
He's on the sunny side of Louisville at the present moment in time. And then our guest that we have on tonight is from Clarksville, kind of where Rich has been hanging out. So, what's that?
For my daddy. Well, that's where my daddy played ball in Clarksville.
Down in Clarksville?
Mhm.
Nice.
Tons of clippings and everything. That was right before he went into the Army.
Okay. Was your dad stationed at Fort Campbell?
He was at Fort Drum.
Okay.
Because he was up in Mass, and then he went to Germany, and that's where he was stationed because he played basketball for the Army, and then he ended up going pro in Europe for the German team because they recruited him from the Army games, but he was able to do it while he was still serving.
Okay. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, but yeah, he was at Fort Drum.
So why didn't you get your daddy's tall jeans?
Because he gave it all to my brother.
He gave it all to your brother.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay, I got you.
I give crap about it all the time. But then again, you know what? I'm good. I'm fun size. I like it. I tried to stand on a footstool one time, and I was like, no, I don't like it up here.
You don't like it to be that tall?
No, I didn't.
So we got a great guest coming tonight. He's a 25 years in the Army. He's a professional photographer, and right now he is currently the Tennessee's Governor's Veteran Fellow, working on military and veteran initiatives for the state of Tennessee. Don't tell my wife because she hates the state of Tennessee. My wife hates all things Tennessee, because she's an SCC blue blood, UK. I don't like UK either, but Julie, if you're on here, you might as well just jump off.
Sorry, Chris.
So let's bring our guest up to the stage, Mr. Chris Lancia. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me. And don't worry, I live in Tennessee, but I'm a Gators fan, so I don't know if that's any better for your wife, but I'm not a go big orange guy.
No, I hear you, and it might be a little bit better. She's not a big fan of Florida either. She's not any fan.
Army veteran, so she might get over it. Except for the fact that I brought this up pre-show, like he totally catfished us.
He did.
Look at that smooth baby face, and then look at this one on camera.
It's like, wait a minute, are you the right person?
Yes, probably. I need to update my LinkedIn headshot, huh?
Yeah, just a little bit. That might have been when you first got out. So, hey, Candace.
Yes,
Candace.
Since you're water right now. Cheers, my love. Cheers.
Hi, Chrissy. That's my sister there. Candace, since you're on your phone, if we're talking, we can't hear you when you talk because you're not logged into the StreamYard that way. So if you're trying to talk while we're talking, we can't hear you.
Do you want me to raise my hand?
No. Just blink your eyes. Go. Chris, how are you, sir? Can you do me a favor? Can you introduce yourself for me, if you don't mind?
Sure, yeah. So you already got the name part, Chris Lancia. We actually live just outside of Clarksville, Tennessee, which is the home of Fort Campbell and the 101st Airborne Division, Air Soul, which is interesting that I actually never served in that division. My time at Fort Campbell was all of the 160th Special Ops Aviation Regiment. But yeah, 25 years of service. And right now, what we're doing is I have two big roles with the state of Tennessee. One of them is managing the Governor's Veteran Fellowship, kind of like you mentioned, and the other one is the chief of staff of our Tri-Stars and Stripes Council, which is the Governor's Council for service members, veterans, and their families. Because some of the work we're trying to do in Tennessee is to really bring together all state agencies that have programs that could impact that population, as well as our our private and public partners throughout the state, because it's one of those things where the goal is to make Tennessee a destination of choice for service members, veterans, and their families. And the acknowledgement there is that it's about way more than just having jobs, which I think is something that a lot of times is the trap that people fall into when they start talking about transition and things like that, right? So that's a big part of it, is really bringing all that together for the quality of life, because especially the family side, because I think that's one thing that a lot of people forget, is that once you get out of the military, your family gets a big old vote that they didn't used to have, and you got to remember that part.
Right, definitely. So I live in Kentucky, so I don't know what our department would be equivalent to what you do. So we have like the Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs,
Mhm.
and then I think we have a new guy. Well, he was for the city of Louisville. He was the chairman for the office of the mayor for Veterans Affairs, and then now he's in Frankfurt doing something for the governor. I'm not for sure exactly what he's doing. So, do you know who your counterparts are throughout the country?
Well, it's interesting because this role is pretty unique. We have a Department of Veteran Services, and our commissioner in there is his name's Tommy Baker. He's an amazing guy. He did a long time Tennessee Guardsman, and just well connected with the state of Tennessee. So his counterparts across the country are exactly like you talked about. The leaders of each veteran services, veteran affairs, whatever each state calls it. And so I work essentially for him, and kind of serve as the bridge with some of the other agencies and departments across the state. So it's really an interesting position. I know there's a similar position in Maryland. I've heard a couple of other states that have something like this. But one thing that we identified is that the in any state, that department, whether it's veteran services, veteran affairs, whatever they call it, is generally tied to very specific things by charter from their state legislature. In Tennessee, those things are benefits, appeals, and burials, right? Those are like kind of the big things that our department does. So it's a small department. We don't have anybody within the department that does education initiatives, or that works on, workforce stuff, but we have a labor and workforce department. We have an education department. So part of my role is tying our veteran services department, which has the finger on the pulse of what, our SMVF need, with those agencies that have programs that could impact us, right? So that's kind of where I sit and help form that bridge to really, just kind of get people out of their echo chambers, out of their silos, if you will, right, and try and bring those things together. But our commissioner of veteran services is like, he's the one that drives the train on how those things look and what we do with them, and helps us kind of, I guess, create that path for how we want to go after some of these problems once we identify them. So yeah, I don't know if that helps, but
Yeah, it does, because like I know there's several different within KDVA. KDVA, it's Kentucky Department of Veterans Affairs. I know there's several different departments that they have, in different different heads. Like you got the female veterans, you got I think they got one for like Vietnam era vets, and so it's it's all broke up, and then you got the commissioner that runs everything, and I think John Miles, that's the guy that I've known for a really long time. He was in Louisville. He was out for the mayor, and then now he's at the governor. I think he's the bridge from KDVA to the governor. So I kind of think he might be in your row, maybe. Which he's supposed to had come on the show, but he's dealing with some medical reasons, so he hasn't been able to come on yet. But I definitely, I'm going to get him on as soon as I can. I just once he gets hit, better. But no, I'm excited. You know, Rich LaMonica, who was watching, I don't know if he still is or not, but I know he's busy with Army training. I'm not going to say it the way he says it, but you know, he's up there doing Army training in Southern
You're not gonna
Indiana
make your
right
stripes
now.
reference.
Yeah, his stripes reference. So you're an Army guy. What was your job in the Army?
So yeah, I'll make a long story as short as I can here, but I started out as a UH-60 Blackhawk repairman and crew chief, and I did my first 9 years, doing that. I'm honestly one of the best jobs in the military as a whole. Being a crew chief on an aircraft. So it's just an amazing time there. But we did 9 years doing that. I got out to go back to school, get the degree and everything. The intention was to immediately go back in, and then my wife and I said, hey, let's do the is the grass greener thing, right? And so I spent about 5 years working in the journalism industry, and then came back on active duty. And when we came back, I was in transportation, so I was basically doing cargo operations, things like that, in Virginia, and then was able to go to OCS and ended up as a logistics officer in the Army. And my final role was as a public affairs officer, because it was something for me that I thought aligned, my previous time, spent a lot of time in the journalism industry. I thought it aligned well with being able to help tell stories for the Army, and help push our brand out there, and with the awareness. So that was my final gig, and my final job was the public affairs officer for the 160th Special Ops Aviation Regiment here on Fort Campbell, and that's just an amazing place to be a part of, and then being able to have that role to really help kind of highlight some of the stories of the amazing people and things that are going on there was quite an honor.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. So Rich is still watching. He says, "Hell yeah," and then Army training, sir. Which
There you go.
so he's still watching. I can't do that. I can't. Being a Marine, I just can't do that. Sorry,
Can you
Rich.
you can at least give us a razzle dazzle, right? Like
Maybe just a little bit. So I'm trying, and then you're very active within the community outside of what you do for the governor and everything. Um, so looks here, and I guess you do a lot of. You got a blog. Is Visit Clarksville, Tennessee? Is that your blog?
no, that's just one we've done some work with them to help highlight the area.
Okay.
So and it kind of plays into the part that my wife and I have been doing is it's called Grid Square Recon, and that's the piece that we kind of did some work with Visit Clarksville. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. Candace, you've been awful quiet down there.
Because you told me you can't hear me
Well, I didn't tell you to be quiet.
talking, so I didn't want to interrupt. And it's not you were just seeing my mouth moving.
We're waiting for you to raise your hand.
He told me no. I haven't blinked my eyes yet. So I got a man. He's a Vietnam veteran. He's gonna come and say hi here in a minute. But we just got pizzas brought in, and he's eating.
All right. All right.
But like I said, he's a Vietnam veteran. He is a hoot. He's great. If anybody out there has a bass fishing boat that runs, he's looking for a checklist. He's looking for that companion, significant other. But the requirement is that they like hunting and fishing. They have a bass boat that runs. Oh,
You're talking about staying, ain't you?
Staying the man.
Staying the man. All right. So, but while he's feeding his face, while that jarhead's feeding his face, let's talk a little bit more about Grid Square Recon. Because on here it says, which aims to help military families find a sense of belonging wherever they are through community explorations of areas surrounding military installations. So, is that something that's just local to Tennessee, or are you trying to expand that and go more into detail, kind of what that is?
Yeah, so it will be expanded. I'll give you kind of the whole backstory on it, and first we'll start out with the name of it. And so, for us, any military, individual, a grid square, right? We're versed in it. No matter how good you are at land nav, and that skill set's all over the map. I was a lieutenant at one time, so there's plenty of jokes to be made there. But that we started out with that idea that we understood. Hey, a grid square is kind of where you're operating, and then what's the very first thing you do whenever you get to a new area? you recon it, right?
You recon it, yep.
So it kind of tied those two together and gave us a very like identifiable thing that that we think people can draw from. But what we've identified is that one thing that military families really struggle with, transitioning veterans, whether they're married or not, have the same issue, and that's a sense of belonging. All right, so we move a lot. Everywhere we go, we have very shallow roots. And so it becomes really hard to become a strong part of a community, and that's actually part of the reason why the transition is as hard as it is, because we don't really have a place where we feel like we belong as we're making that transition. All right, so I think I haven't run into anyone who hasn't experienced what I'm about to describe, and that is you get orders to move somewhere in the military, and inevitably one of the first things you hear from a friend is, "Oh, that place sucks." Right, so you go, "Oh, okay. How bad can it be? Let me look it up." And you usually find one of two things: validation that it sucks, or information that is a decade old and you don't know if it's accurate. Right. So now you've got the stress of moving, and it's compounded by the stress of your family saying, "I don't want to live in that place where you're making me go." Right. So what we do when we get there is we stay internal. We stay on post. We stay with just other military families. Right. We don't ever actually become a part of the community there. And so that's what our aim is we're going to, we will recon areas and then form an information source. It's probably going to be, an online community is probably the best term for it. Right. But it'll have local businesses, resources, things like that you can actually, get after and find information on, hey, we're moving to this place. My daughter does ballet. Is there a dance studio in this place? Right. And I can look that up and find out. One of the really cool side benefits to this is that once we set it up, there are a ton of content creators within the military spouse community. So we have an opportunity for military spouses to have something where they can, continue to build their own brand, make a little money on it, feed their own community, because they're feeding a community that is facing the same problem they are with that sense of belonging, and trying to find information. They can do it at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday if they want, while the kids are in school, if that's a thing, right? If they're moving somewhere else, they can go, "Hey, do you have one set up at this place now? I'd like to continue doing it there." So it's got some really good side benefits just for the families as well, and having that opportunity to do things like that, because that's something that the work I'm doing with the state that, we've identified, not we've identified, but, I've heard more about than I had ever heard before. And that's that military spouse unemployment piece. Right. And yeah, this isn't full-time employment, but it does solve some problems of giving them something where they're continuing to have, work products that they can, showcase. They're continuing to have an income stream to help out with the family. Because as we all know, it's real hard to make it on a single, income, especially a military one sometimes.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of where it all ties together. There's a lot of research on the belonging piece out there. Blue Star families, when they do their survey every year, that's one of the things that they, highlight heavy, is the fact that, we have a hard time connecting with that local community. We're very fortunate here outside of Fort Campbell that the city of Clarksville and Montgomery County has a very good relationship with the installation. That's not always the case. Right. So
Right.
another side benefit to this is, it'll help with that community sense of tying the two together and making it like, when you go someplace, that the community isn't, pushing away the military members because they don't see us interacting with them and bringing value.
Right.
So there's a ton. I mean, you can go down this rabbit hole for hours with all the side benefits that come from it. But really the bottom line there is trying to help our families find that identity piece where they're like, no, we live here, we belong here, we're in the community, and we want to be a part of it.
Well, once you get it up and running for Kentucky, I'd like to be part of that as well, because I mean I'm from Mount Washington, which is right outside of Fort Knox. Candace is from Shepherdsville area. Hold 1 second, girl.
I put my hand.
I saw you hold your hand up that time, but so I know the surrounding E-Town, Radcliffe, Brandenburg, the surrounding area, and then of course I work in Louisville, which is the biggest city, 30 minutes north of of Fort Knox there. So we definitely can. Me and Candace, and then everybody that we know, we could be a big value to helping get it up and running here in the state of Kentucky for sure. So go ahead, Candace.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I have my Bible of resources and places and things that are really wanting to contribute to that, to helping the veterans in the community and stuff. So definitely we have the resources to really help you get that going.
Yeah, and then plus, with us been doing this podcast for as long as we have been doing it, all of these veteran service organizations that are outside of military installations in other states, we can definitely, input them in there as well. So we can definitely be a valued resource for that aspect of things. So, Mr. Stan, how are you, sir?
I'm doing wonderful.
Look,
thank you.
I put a little throw out there that you're looking for somebody that has a running bass boat, like hunting and fishing,
Right.
that runs.
Got to run.
It's got to run. That likes hunting and fishing.
Right. Got to be able to cut the grass. Got to be able to edge the yard. Got to be able to be a Christian woman. Doesn't matter if she smokes or not. Doesn't matter if she drinks or not. But if she checks all those boxes, I'm available. I'm single.
Man. He's single and ready to mingle, Chris.
And the man
Just a jarhead,
who's also a Vietnam veteran. So we really want to, you being here and this very, very special tribute. How has this week been for you? Because you've been here almost every day, haven't you?
Pretty much so. Since I found out about it, I wanted to be a part of it, because anytime I can contribute my personal time away from a full-time job, I'll dedicate it to the veterans. I come from a family of 9. I'm the youngest. There were 2 older brothers out of the 5 boys. That 2 got drafted in the Army. Couldn't help that. Infantry. They went over in 66, 69. And I decided, well, they got the draft still going on. They might come after me, as good looking as I am. So they went ahead, and I went ahead and filled out paperwork. At least I had a choice of branch. I had a choice of MOS, and had a choice of when I wanted to go in.
So you picked all the best things, right? Except for the Marines.
And that's why you're here too. I think.
What? Oh,
But
that's why I'm here too?
That's right. So I was able to enlist in, what are we doing?
Here's your crayons, your snack.
I was able to enlist in the time frame September, get the MOS of 2841, which is ground ready to repair. And then lastly, join the U.S. Marines. And that was what I had wanted. And I got everything fulfilled.
Mm. Well, thank you for your service.
So how has this been? How has the experience been?
It is kind of overwhelming, even though I didn't participate as much as some of the folks. And obviously what James does, tremendous job. I was just tickled happy when I met him, and was invited over to help, and find out slowly what different events were going on.
Mm-hmm.
And just from the start of it, when we went to the dinner on Tuesday night, and then the silent auction and the live auction, and then on there to Mount Washington to go to bring the wall down here to Shepherdsville, and then to set it up, and then start it all on Thursday. Mm-hmm. So after work, I would come over here like I did today, and then I'll work 8 to midnight tonight. But every day I wanted to try to contribute something. It wasn't a whole lot, but it's, my personal time.
But you got to meet a lot of your brothers.
Yes.
That were able to come back with you.
It's something very humbling. And if you don't get chills and you don't get the little goosebumps or water in your eyes, little tears, something's wrong. I think you're not a true American. And my family came to this country 100 years ago this year. Mm. My mother was 5 years old. She came with her mother, my grandmother, by herself, just the 2 of them. And they landed in St. Louis, and she had never left that city until she went back to China and brought her younger siblings, who had been born by then, back to St. Louis. Mm. And then one by one, we finally had to have enough help in a Chinese laundry. So she had 9 children, mom and dad, that's 11. And then we hired 2 African-American women, and they did all this ironing by hand.
Yeah.
And they made a total of $5 per week. That's $1 a day if you do the math. That's all they made. But they were very humbling, hardworking, dedicated women. And I want to think it's somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 plus years they worked for my mom and dad.
Wow.
And then, of course, General Electric, Westinghouse, Whirlpool, they started making the home washer and dryers, put us out of business.
Wow.
So that was that.
That's a shame.
That's all right.
Well,
I'm still here.
Well, thank you for coming on here, Stan, and talking about your experience at the wall and everything. It for me, it was very humbling to see you out there and see all the other Vietnam vets that came out and everybody else that from the community just come out and to see the wall and the Cost for Freedom tribute. I mean, that's, I seen it in DC, but I seen it in the daytime. I didn't get to see it at nighttime. So when I was out there for this tribute, it was just, it was amazing to see, and to see the volunteers, the whole list of volunteers from the community that, took time out of their hearts or out of their day to, just to come out there and hang out. It was definitely amazing. So thank you.
I think it was really special. Stan's not the only one to have these Vietnam volunteering their time for this, and that's been extra special, even though they're all rotten. Every one of them rotten can be.
Never. I don't radio.
Look,
Well,
I check all the boxes because I don't have a bass boat. I check the rest of them.
Well, your daddy said, "Oh, no competition." So
yeah, I get them I get a little Matchbox bass boat. I'll make it run.
you can get him one of those remote controlled ones.
Thank you for your service.
Honored to serve. I'm very proud of what I've done.
And welcome home.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Welcome home. So, Mr. Chris, so what are you guys doing? So like in Kentucky, we have Kentucky Valor, which when somebody's transitioning out of the military, they help them, do a resume. They help them do, find them jobs within the state of Kentucky. Does Tennessee have a program kind of sort of like that?
We do, and we there's some that's done actually by the state government, but then we have a lot of partners that work with us as well. So within the labor and workforce, there's a team. It's the well, they don't have a cool acronym like that, but it's the Jobs for Vets state grant, and so they've got a whole team that's what they do. They work with the American Job Centers and have specific counselors that are set up for veterans, to just to understand kind of some of the different needs that we might have, different skill sets we're bringing in, how to help us, translate that skill set into civilian speak, and then, we've got partners like, so in attention, I think they now reach 20 of our 95 counties, but it's Operation Stand Down Tennessee, and they've been growing over the last few years, and they have, you walk in that office and it's a full service thing. They can help you with finding a job, doing your resume. They're set up now to help with, if you're food insecure. They just opened a full service shelter in Nashville, which is really interesting because the way this one is set up is once you're in the building, they bring everything to you. Right. So they'll bring the employment counselors, they'll bring folks who do healthcare, like whatever, to you. Right. And so, it's just, you're off the street, you're in the building, we got the housing first thing solved. And now we can help you with whatever else it is, that's going to get you to a point of being self-sustaining, and back on your feet. So we got a lot of partners like that. The state itself, in the last couple of years, we've teamed up with a couple other ones. Last year, we did a lot with the Honor Foundation, and the Honor Foundation is, specific. Initially they were specific for special operations forces, and regardless of branch, and now they're starting to open that up some as well. We do a lot with the Commit Foundation. That's actually who helped me in my transition. And all these are free resources to the veteran. And currently one that's just now coming in and we're starting to work heavy is called Next Op. And so Next Op is, they are specific on employment. They do a lot for, the junior enlisted population is one that they hit real hard on, because that's one that a lot of these programs, it's hard to get into if you're coming out and you're a first termer and you feel like you don't meet some of those. I don't have a college degree. I don't have all these things, right? And this fancy program doesn't seem like it's for me, right? So Next Stop is one of those ones where they do a lot of things like, fine, hey, you want to go and get a certification to work on diesel engines, whatever, right? Cool, let's help you figure that out, because we don't care what the job is that you want. If it's the one that you want, we're going to help you find it and be successful in it. And so they're completely set up. Yeah, they're completely set up in Memphis now, and they're currently putting a counselor actually right here in Clarksville working in the operations stand down office, which is a really cool partnership there, because I think that's something too. Well, before the conversation, we were talking a little bit about some of the VSO landscape and good and bad, and but that's one thing we see a lot here, and I hope you guys do in Kentucky as well, is that there's a lot of players who are willing to not be caught up on ego and money and no, this is only me, and are completely willing to go, hey, you know what? I don't care who helps you. I'll line you up with anybody you need. All I want to see is that you're successful, right? And if that's another organization that works for you, great. The end state is another veteran who has a success story, all right, and is thriving. So how we help you get there, we don't care, right? And so that's been awesome to see, within the landscape of having all those organizations that are willing to, to be beneficial to each other and not do the infighting that we unfortunately see a lot of.
Yeah, unfortunately, you do see a lot of that, and I've been involved with veteran charities since 2004, and I've seen it numerous times, and there's bad apples in every organization that you can get involved with, but you just got to find the ones that are actually doing it for the right reasons, and not the ego trip, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, it's all about me, I'm in charge, I'm no, that's not, that's what was you going to say,
those? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Chris. No, I think our favorite things about Homefront is bringing those type of VSOs and the community resources together that are so like-minded with that it's not one of those, that's my veteran, you can't help them. It's not one of we really steer clear of the VSOs that are I, and it's all about one person. And I know that for me has been one of my favorite things about doing the podcast, is creating this network of like truly good people.
Oh yeah, we call those. I don't know when we coined this term, but it's years ago. Call those marquee leaders. Right? They want their name up in lights, but they don't actually want to do anything. They just want to put it on their LinkedIn. Like, oh man, look at this. Like,
yeah.
Thanks. You didn't actually serve. You didn't help.
Right. Candace, your daddy's on here, and Michael Snellen is on here.
Hi, Daddy. Michael's sitting right in front of me.
So Chris, have you heard about the Hero Stock concert that's coming to Lebanon, Tennessee, August 3rd?
Yeah, and actually, one of the organizations that we volunteer a lot with, the Travis Manion Foundation, named in honor of a Marine, just throwing that out there. But I think we're going to have a presence there as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the Travis Manion Foundation. I know we touched on them before. But also Hero Stock, because I'm kind of involved with the Hero Stock because we're trying to get it into Kentucky as well. And I know Tracy from Patriots Inside the Wire. She's from Tennessee originally, but she lives in Texas now. And she's like, hey, do you know of a lot of veteran service organizations in Tennessee that could come to the Hero Stock concert to set up and, to talk about what they do in their area and stuff like that. So I don't know if she's reached out to you or somebody from Hero Stock that might have reached out to you, but so let's talk about Travis Manion, and then we'll talk a little bit more about Hero Stock, because the headliner is going to be Scotty Hastings, who's an Army veteran that is amazing. Yeah, no, and it's really cool that they have that tie in there. And we've got some other ones, here. Tennessee's got a really good landscape for the VSO piece. We do a lot of work with one called Memories of Honor, and they're specific on making everyday Memorial Day. So they're pretty soon. I don't know if they'll be at Hero Stock, but they do
they're tied in with Bob Woodruff. So we do a vet fest in Nashville every year, and they usually help with that. And there's a ruck and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, we got a bunch of them tied in there. But on the Travis Manion piece, so the story of Travis is that he was killed on his second deployment, and he actually was killed by a sniper while he was trying to pull a wounded Marine out of the street. But the organization was founded by his family in his honor, and the mantra is "If not me, then who?" And what that comes from is just before that deployment, Travis they were from it was the Philly area, so he's an Eagles fan, and they were at a football game, some friends of his, and when they were leaving, one of his buddies said, "Hey, you know what? If I were to trip you and you fall down the stairs and get hurt, then you don't have to go on this deployment, right? You'll be safe." And Travis's response to that was, "Well, that's not right, man. Because listen, if I don't go, somebody has to go in my place, right? And they don't know my Marines the way I do. They're not trained the way I am. They're not ready as I am." He's like, so that actually would be a disservice to all of the Marines who are counting on me to be a part of their team or provide the leadership they need to come back home. And so that led to that mantra of the looking at it from, hey, if not me, then who? Be willing to step in, whenever you see the need. And so the foundation itself is really set up around youth development and trying to empower service members, veterans, Gold Star family members, and first responders to serve as mentors and role models for youth. And we use the 24 character strengths as the keynote behind that. And the program is called Character Does Matter. And, we work with youth groups, sports groups, schools. And these mentors go in there and they help the youth better understand how they tick through the understanding of those character strengths. Right. And so the idea there is really to be able to make you a better teammate, a better brother, sister, whatever the case may be, because you're more in tune with those around you by having a little bit better understanding of why they operate. And hopefully your interactions with them are better as a part of that. So those things lead into what we call Operation Legacy Service Projects. And those are named in honor of a fallen service member. And it can be anything from going and building some flower boxes, outside of a local elementary school, so they can use those for school projects. We went in Richmond one time. We painted the inside of a homeless shelter for veterans, and completely redid the entire inside. So just a variety of things. But you take that character strength piece and help them understand how to be a better person, and then you use the service project to really tie into an understanding of, hey, this is what it means, right? Like, we're going to help you understand how to be a better person. Then we're going to teach you how to use that to give back to others and make the world around you a little bit better. So that's kind of where, the Travis Manion Foundation really does its work. It's a nationwide BSO. We've got, chapters around the nation. There's the service projects. You don't have to be near a chapter to set one up. And the organization will help with, a lot of the funding of those things. So it's one of those places where it really helps you, and Stanley mentioned, like, being humbled by being at the wall and being able to volunteer, right? But it's that same thing. We're doing it in honor of someone, and we're using their sacrifice to help the next generation understand what service means, right? And the fact that every single one of us has, you can say we have an obligation, right, to take whatever we have, and try and make the world around us a little bit better. And if we all looked at it that way, I think a lot of the hatred and division that we see spewed out there, we'd be able to fight off better, because people would come from a place of, I don't say not necessarily love, but a place of understanding how to be a positive force in your community, and not one that's just trying to break things down because you think it's funny or you're going to get clicks on some sort of social media platform.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Yeah, that would be a beautiful world, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it definitely would be a beautiful world if I think mainstream media, and I'm just going to throw this out there, likes to keep that divide amongst the different races and the different religions, and I think if everybody looked at it the same way, then America would be a whole better place. So yeah, it's crazy, man.
What do you think about this program?
Well, it gives the program here is wonderful. It's just, I'm just in awe at being here. And it's very interesting in what the topics are, and it's all about helping veterans. And it's something that years ago my brother was involved with. He had a hard time in '69 in college, getting drafted and making that transition from a civilian now into being an Army infantryman on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he was shot there and got his Bronze Star, a little bit of Agent Orange, making that transition back home and trying to become a civilian, just he couldn't handle it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we need organizations that can help our veterans to cope with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's happening every day. It happens in our real world. It's reality. It's not something somebody wrote a book on and there it is. It's
Well,
not fictional.
absolutely not, because you have these boys, and that's what I'm going to say. It's boys. When you're joining, typically the majority are young boys that are going into the military, and when you're going into these combat zones and things like that, and you haven't even experienced adulthood or responsibility, things that you need to survive, and then you're brought back and experience the things you've experienced and expected to just deal with how the real world is, how all the things that you didn't know and didn't learn at home, you're just supposed to jump right into it and get it and understand it and accept how people act around you and treat you differently, and how much, and when you're gone, how much does your society and your community change during that? If you're gone for 4 years and you're on tour, a lot of things change quickly nowadays.
Yeah.
So adjust to that, and I agree, like having these programs is super important, and going back to the older times of not having that for our military people, I can't imagine how tough it was. It's hard now even having the programs, but not having that resource. mm, I'm happy to hear more and more that do that.
Well, and it's interesting because we're also, we're doing some work with the VFW to, help with kind of modernization and change some of the message, right? And one thing that came out of that conversation that's specific to this topic is how times have changed, for our different generations of veterans, right? So, a lot of times VFW gets looked at, and American Legion as well, as kind of closed off, right? And not that welcoming. But there's a reason for that. And if you look after World War II, they came home to parades. Everybody was so happy. Our Vietnam veterans didn't get that. All right. So after World War II, it was wide open. We wanted everybody to be a part of it because there was such a wide acceptance. Our Vietnam veterans, generally did not get that experience. So the VFW and Legion learned to close the doors a little bit because we wanted to be proud of our service. We wanted to support each other, but we also knew that that service may not be widely, praised in America, right? But that part, we never really were able to come out of it. And now current generation, military service is praised again, right? Everybody see, oh, veterans are a value. They bring so much to the workforce. They bring so much to our communities, right? And so now we're trying to kind of bring some of that back out and open up a little bit, right? And make some of these things a little bit wider while also respecting why things were the way they were for that generation, because things were done away because they had to be, right? Like you had to have that support system, but you also knew it couldn't be doors wide open because some people were going to come in there and not give you a positive interaction, and really just make it worse for that veteran who is trying to learn how to reintegrate into society. I heard that there was a talk, it's probably a couple months ago now, but a gentleman out of Colombia who works at their transition center, and he actually he used the Lord of the Rings as an example here, and it was the hobbits when they left, and he used that hobbit as as a veteran, right? It's like, hey, when you left the Shire, right, went off and went to war, went on this mission, did this thing, and you came home, right, and the Shire has changed, and so have you, right? And I think a lot of times the Shire expects the veteran to change back to integrate
Yeah.
into it, right? And it has to be a mutual thing. The Shire also has to change a little bit in order to help us get back into the realm, right? Because I'm never going to be the same person I was when I left prior to my military service, right? And that's good, bad, ugly, doesn't matter. It's just a fact.
Yeah.
I've gone through things that have changed me, and that's regardless of whether or not you saw combat. right? You're just a different person now, right? And so there has to be a mutual kind of shift there to help me get back into that society, right? And so it's been interesting seeing as we look at the different generations and how we've had to change how some of those things are done in order to provide the support that's needed to help with that reintegration back into society.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy. I mean, because like for me, when I got out in '01 the first time and then '04 the second time, they didn't really help me reintegrate back in the civilian sector. They're like, all right, you're getting out. Here's your 30 days leave. See you later. Bye. Now, the veterans that are getting out, the service member that are getting out, they get, 60 to 90 days or whatever. I think there's different programs out there depending on your rank. And you could go be a intern at an at a company, and then once you're out, and you're still getting paid by the military while you're doing this training. That's something that I didn't have. I didn't have the availability for that, and there's a lot of good programs out there now that are doing that.
Yeah.
So, and you're right about the cycle. Because like you said, World War II, there was parades when they came home. Vietnam, it was not so great. After that, then they started, especially nowadays, modern. You got everybody coming home to parades at the airport. They know when they're coming home.
Yeah.
There's big festivals at the airport.
Parking spaces in front of Home Depot and Lowe's, right? Like,
yeah, it's crazy, and then it's that endless cycle. I think we're going to go into a cycle here where the military's praised, but not everybody's wanting to join, and then something's going to happen, and everybody's going to join, and then it's just going to be that endless cycle, and it's crazy. So what programs or what events do you guys put on? Because I saw here on LinkedIn you had the was it flapjacks and backpacks? Yes. So is that a program for back to school for veterans families?
It is, and actually, ours here is for military families because Clarksville is blessed to have a lot of organizations that are willing to help with the back to school kind of thing, but most of them are off the installation, and so we're able to team up with the USO on Fort Campbell and set that up. And the USO has been an incredible partner to help with that drive, and they bring in other partners to help really set this huge thing up. And I think on average, we have about 200 military kids that come through. And so the flapjacks and backpacks part is, they come in, we feed them breakfast. And the Christian County, Kentucky Military Affairs Committee comes in and does all the cooking and makes all the, they make, the flapjacks and some sausage and bacon, whatever. And so they get breakfast and then they come over. We do a little bit of, we kind of do an abbreviated mentorship session while they're eating. And this year we talked about love of learning, and we get a chance to talk to the kids about why that's important. And then we set them up with a couple of questions. So as they're coming up to do the backpacks, they get to talk to us about, kind of, we get to learn about them, right? Which is something that I think a lot of times, it's just, here's the thing, kid, go away. And it's not like, no, we want to interact with you, and hear about you. Side note to this, there were so many kids this year that said math was their favorite subject. Blew my mind. I'm like, I'm an English major, so I took like one math class in college, so I was like, wow, okay. I'm gonna take your shoes off, guy, if I got to count, above 10. So
Right. I've never heard many kids say math is their favorite subject. That's crazy.
It was wild. It blew my mind.
Wait,
is it the
not a Marine?
Well, there you go. Right. Yeah. But we had, so this year, the two questions were, one was, what word would you use to describe yourself? Right. And we gave them some examples, and it could be right now, it could be what you want to be. Right. So it could be, hey, you love to draw, and, so you say artist, or, or athlete, or maybe you want to be a doctor or a nurse or a teacher or a lawyer or whatever, right. Whatever that is, and kind of give us that. And then the second question was, what are you most looking forward to learning more about this year as you go into school? Right. And just kind of driving home that love of learning piece for those kids, and they just get to interact with so many positive people, really hoping to start the school year off right. But yes, it's an amazing opportunity for us to be around the kids, and it's that thing, like, you see the looks on their faces, and it never fails. Every year we have at least one parent come over and let us know that they made choices this year that we helped them not have to make, right? And so a lot of families are in a spot where, hey, to get school supplies, they're choosing to not pay another bill, or they're choosing something else, right? And we took that burden off of them, right, through doing this and providing that school supply thing for them. So it's a lot of fun to do. The organization, the Travis Manning Foundation, does these across the country. It literally just called the Back to School drives. So it's really neat to see, these all over the country, and the pictures and the different, ways that they interact with the kids. So it's fun there. And here specifically for us, on top of that one, we work with Kentucky Veteran Cemetery West out in Hopkinsville. Okay. And we go, do an op legacy with them several times a year because they do flag placements for 4th of July, Veterans Day, Memorial Day, Christmas. So we go out and help with that. And then of course they do a Wreath Across America, and they have a Veterans Day event and a Memorial Day event. And a lot of times it ends up being just the staff out there trying to run all this. So when they get volunteers, it's a huge thing to help them because they get a lot of families that come through. So yeah, just being able to tie in there, right? It's back to, like, we were talking about this whole conversation, but being able to tie into the community and really be able to feel like you're a part of it, but also give back, right? Because, like, my family's blessed, and military service for me is something that, changed our lives. Right. Changed my dad's life too. He was an Army veteran as well, and took us places where we likely wouldn't have been, without this service. And so, being able to showcase the value of service in a very, very positive way is something that's really important to me individually, but I think for us to be able to highlight as a community, and, and continue to let the world around us see veterans not as some broken, whatever you want to throw out there that you see in the narrative sometimes, but like, no, man, the overwhelming majority of us are out making a difference in our community every day. And we're taking the hardest service that caused us to sign up in the first place, and we're transitioning that into, other volunteer things, teaching Sunday school, coaching kids at the Y, like whatever it might be, right? And we're taking the hardest service that we were all born with, and we're making a positive impact in our communities every day.
I'm going. So you have to, yeah. So it's funny that you say that, because I was getting ready to say that I'm just going to do my thing because I have certain questions, and Willis knew it was coming. But you're talking about the majority of you are out in your community, and you are. Something that I see in that majority that's out is you're helping the community as a whole, but essentially what you're doing is helping your fellow servicemen and women come back and be okay, because it's really like so many of you I see that with the issues in the background, the demons, the spirals, the things that you guys go through, you're really trying to help others not hit that, or find a way out of it, because a lot of the organizations that we deal with are these veterans that are creating it because they've went through something so tough and so hard, and they're like, how can I help the next one not hit that point? What is it in our VA system? What is it that's missing in WWP? What is it that's missing in these big organizations that I can, at least in my community, throw out there a little bit and help with, right? And that's that's really neat to see. But what I was going to say, and doing my Candace duties on Homefront, if somebody is wanting to help with this flapjacks and backpacks and the wreaths, or any of these events that you have going on, or the fundraising, where do they go if they're not in your community but they want to help and they want to donate, whether monetarily or supplies? What do they do?
Well, for the Travis Manning Foundation piece, if there's a chapter close to you, we all have Facebook pages, and that's where we put up our events and stuff. But you can also go to travismanning.org, and it'll actually bring up, there's maps with the different things going on. You can find events around you, and that's the place where there's spots where you can donate. There's spots where you can buy. If you want to buy a shirt, and the proceeds of that go back to it, then you get to rep the shirt. And it's a pretty sweet logo, right? Like they get in there and, so, and a lot of the merch is like Under Armour, high quality stuff. But yeah, you go to that website and that's where you'll find that. And again, the really cool part about it, since it's national, is if you know that if you don't find something local to you, but you want to, do an Operation Legacy, for example, you want to do something like that, jump on the website. There's a contact us, know, and they will empower you and support you however they can to help you set that thing up and get up and running. So we have op legacies that happen all over the country that have nothing to do with the chapters that are set up, but are just well-meaning, service members, veterans, and families who are jumping in there and saying, "Hey, I want to do good. Can you help me do that?" Right? And the answer is always going to be yes. We're going to work to yes and help you get there.
So I just put in the link to donate to the flapjack or backpacks and flapjacks, and then I'm going to put the Travis Manion link in there as well. So that way, if they want, they just click on the first link and go straight to where they can donate for the backpacks and stuff. And then this is the travismanion.org. You can go there, and it's a pretty easy website to check out. Now, if somebody wanted to, like, say, if they're watching and they're from the Tennessee area and they want to get involved with what you're doing for military members within the state of Tennessee, how would they go about reaching out to you? Find you on LinkedIn or what?
Yeah, LinkedIn's probably the best way to connect with me for that kind of a thing. And then we can tie in there. So it's interesting with our Tri-Stars and Stripes Council, and Kentucky's probably very similar. In Tennessee, we have what we call grand divisions. And so we have, east, west, and middle. And so one thing that we hear a lot of, because Nashville's in the middle, is that a lot of times you get those programs where people are going, "Oh, so you just care about the middle, right? You're not worried about the east and the west side." So as part of the council, we have 13 actual council members, but then we have advisors to the council who are spread throughout the state. So for instance, we have a committee that's working on education stuff. And so, we've got the military advisors from East Tennessee State University. We're working with some folks from Memphis, from Jackson. So we've got people like that spread throughout the state. So if there's something like that you want to help with, it's easy for us to get you tied in there to do that sort of thing. And just to plant a seed, if anybody's thinking through and they want to help in that way, the big things for the Tri-Stars and Stripe Council right now are education. So all of these start with service members, veterans, and their families, right? But it's education, it's employment and entrepreneurship, it's equity to resources. And so the equity resources is focused on female veterans and specific programming and things for them. And then veterans that may be, food insecure or homeless, and how do we find resources for you and help you, get to a more secure place. And then we have a suicide prevention one, which is tied in with a lot of the national work that we're doing. And then an outreach, committee. And the outreach one is really, it's kind of a subset, if you will, but like of all the others, because the outreach one is going to help all of those efforts. How do we get that word out to the service members, veterans, and their families? And really like figure that out. And one really cool part here, and I always like talking about this, is I mentioned the suicide prevention, but one thing that we focus real heavy on, and I wish more people would, but is getting left of the moment of crisis, right? And that's where we think the employment, the education, all those things come into play. Because if we're getting all those things right, the chances are that you're less likely to get to that crisis moment where you're considering, doing something terrible, right? And so that's kind of the thing. We have a lot of resources that go towards the moment of crisis, and they're needed. But if we got more left of that moment, right, and started trying to solve problems before you got to a space where you were so stressed out that you felt that was your only option, I think we could really impact those numbers, right? And so that's kind of what we're trying to push real hard on, is like the suicide prevention one is huge, and we cannot ever shy away from that. But man, there's something we can do to help, from someone getting to the point where they think that's their option.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what keeps me up at night, is that fear of missing that one veteran that slips through the crack. And we're on here, and we post and talk about all these different organizations from all around the country, not just here in Kentucky, not just in Tennessee. My nephew is at Fort Campbell now, and he struggles. Here he is. He's 22, 23, or maybe 24 now. and he's got 2 kids. He's a single dad. Of course, mom's in Kentucky. He's down in Fort Campbell, and he gets his kids every other weekend. And it's just like, bro, you got to do what's best for you, and don't worry about the small stuff, because there's plenty of organizations out there that's going to help you. So and that's reaching out. Rich connected me and you. Rich LaMonica with Misfit Nation connected me and you, and he said this guy would be a great guest for your show. And you have been a wonderful guest, well spoken, very articulate, if that's even the right word. But you know your stuff, and you have a heart of the servant's heart that we have here on Homefront Sitrep. Don't laugh at me, Candace. I didn't have my crowns today.
I think she was laughing because it's such a big word from a Marine.
Right. But you have the same heart that I have, because it's not about me. It's about the veterans that I'm helping. It's about the families that I'm helping. And recently I heard a story about a Gold Star widow. Her husband died. 3 days after they buried her husband, they kicked her off base. And I'm like, Gold Star families should not be treated that way. It just hurts my heart, because her husband paid the ultimate sacrifice. She's not in the military. She still served. Those kids still served.
Yep.
But yet, as soon as they buried him 3 days later, they're just like, all right, you got to get off base.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That don't make no sense to me.
With no guidance or help, or hey, we provide this. Nothing. Just see you later. Bye.
Yeah, that don't make no sense to me. Why they would treat her that way? It's something that really irks me as a veteran. If I was married when I was in the Marine Corps and I died in combat, to know that 3 days later after they bury me, they're going to kick my wife and kids off base. Come on, we as Americans, we need. I know we as here can't really do a whole lot about it because we're not up here. But I think something's got to happen so they don't get pushed off base like that. So
yeah.
Well, for us here, I say the more we raise our voices, it's a collective voice. Yeah.
They can't it's one of those things like I was talking about where you tend to see these veterans come and start something because it's what they experienced, right? And so yes, squeaky wheel, right? So the more it's talked about, the more it's heard. Somebody that has that passion and that heart and that time to put into something like that, it would be a wonderful thing to look into and go, hey, why is this happening to these families? Because we lose too many. So it's not just a one-time thing. It's not a rare occasion. It happens every time that one of those flag-covered caskets come and that they're on that base. It happens every time. And there has to be something that can be different. Like something needs to be done about that. Because that's not okay. You got now widowed mothers and fatherless or motherless children that essentially are put in the street because they're in an area that they were taken away from their own community to start with. You were moved to a base. It's probably nowhere near home. And then here, figure it out. Don't even have time to grieve. It's not okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Take the cat home with you?
Well, Mr. Chris, it's been an honor to have you on here. Anytime that you got anything coming up that you want to talk about, reach out to me or Candace, and I'll send you my phone number. That way you'll have it, and I'll send Candace's as well. That way you'll have it. If you just want to come on and chit chat about a program that you got coming up, whether it's with the Travis Banyan Foundation or any kind of big veteran event that you got going on in the state of Tennessee in your area, reach out to us, because that's what we want to do is we want to be able to help you spread what's going on in the state of Tennessee for veterans, because we got listeners all over the country, all over the globe. So definitely reach back out to us. And it's been our honor to have you on here. And that, I do got to ask before I let you go, though. I made a post on Facebook about looking for female veterans or somebody to come on and host the show with us. And you tagged your wife, but she never responded. Was she interested?
Don't put that.
What's that?
Don't put you on that.
No. I'll re-engage her now. So I've been trying. It's interesting. So my wife's also a veteran, and it's kind of funny because she she did her first podcast episode with somebody just a couple of months ago, and I think it was something trying to get over a fear, but once she's in the moment, right, she loves talking about stuff. And I think the interesting part for her is that so many female veterans feel like they don't have a voice, right? And so being able to be out there and help them find that voice and be heard is such a big thing. We did an event, gosh, it's probably been 7 or 8 years ago now, outside of Richmond, Virginia. And it was a Wounded Warrior Project event. We were doing some stuff with Team Red, White, and Blue. And it was me and another, guy up there talking, and Sarah was just there. And when we were finishing up, she was like, "Hey, can I say something?" Yeah. And so she stepped up and she was like, "Ladies, look, find whatever it is that you need, go through 10 VSOs till you find the one that you feel like you're comfortable with," right? And she brought up specifically Team Red, White, Blue. She's like, "I found my tribe. It's like I don't have to worry about getting on my makeup, getting out." She's like, "I can show up as I am, be supported, be accepted, be valued for who I am, and they see me for me, and they want me to be a part of what they're doing," right? And so she's like, "Just whatever that looks like for you, find it." Right. And so it's awesome having that sort of a message out there, because we do. It's just, a lot of our female veterans, they just feel forgotten sometimes. Right. So I see you, Candace.
So I'm changing my mind. Thanks, Willis, for putting them on the spot, because you're absolutely right. Our female veterans do need a voice, and everybody that watches this show knows I have an opinion, and I always put it out there. And I'm a female, but I'm not a veteran. I tried, just didn't work out. But to have somebody like that voice their opinion and put that feel out there, we would absolutely love to have something like that on here. And later on the podcast, I was hour asleep. So you come as you are, I promise.
But no, if she's interested, I would love to have her come on and host some of the podcasts with Candace on Tuesdays and Thursdays, or Sundays and Mondays, whatever works for her. We could definitely make it happen, and have your wife look into. There's a veteran service organization called She's the Veteran. It's in South Carolina, and then also She Serves Sheroes. That's two great female veteran service organizations that we had on our show, and I speak very highly of them because they're amazing. So definitely have her look into those two veteran service organizations strictly for female veterans, because you are right. Unfortunately, the military is still predominantly male focused. But there's so many female warriors out there that puts a lot of male warriors to shame. I'm like, holy cow, bro. So yeah, definitely have her look into those. And if she's interested in coming on here and hosting, she's more than welcome to come on, and we'll welcome her to the family. Even if she doesn't want to host, we'd love to have her on here as a guest. Yeah, sure.
No, absolutely. Yeah, and I'll tie her in with you guys, and it's cool too. So she and just it's kind of a side note, but it's applicable, I think. So Sarah does pottery. She's an artist, and so one of the things we're doing with our property out here is we're creating a place where veterans and family members can come and kind of get away from it all. Right? Some goats, I do some woodworking, but we're building her pottery studio, and so. It's really interesting because she's been doing this now for years, but having an opportunity for people to come out here and do some stuff like that with their hands, right? And what's really cool about it is it's helping reframe some of our pathways, for veterans and service members, because when you're in the service, right, you are conditioned to look at everything from a lens of what's the worst possible outcome. right?
Yeah.
Like everything's what risk am I doing, all this, right? But it's all bad. If this goes terribly wrong, what's going to happen? And so one of the things that, she's trying to help people with that is like, hey, you got this block of clay in front of you, right? And in 10 minutes, it might be a cup or a bowl or whatever, right? So let's look at what it could possibly be. What's the best thing this could be, right? And the great part about pottery is she's able to go, hey, you know what? And if it doesn't work out, guess what we do? We smash it all together and we try it again, right? Like, but it's thinking about possibility and thinking about looking at things from, what can happen. It's really good, right? And get away from that negative kind of thing that we've just been conditioned to think that way, right?
Yeah.
So having her on here, I think being able to talk about that kind of stuff would be awesome. And to your point, Cass, whether it's helping host or just being on the show as a guest, it'd be awesome to be able to talk about that and kind of showcase why there's such value in stuff like that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We want her to come on regardless because that's fantastic. It really is. As Willis says, it's simply amazing.
That's right. That's simply amazing. And we did back in, what was it, January, February? We had a lot of female veterans that come on the show, and everybody's like, well, why are you focusing on female veterans? I'm like, because they don't get the focus, the recognition that they deserve. So I would love to, just speak with your wife, Sarah, because we're friends on Facebook, and I could see your post when you and her, doing the stuff out there on your property. And it's just like, these guys are amazing. So thank you again.
That's where the beard came from, right? Because you got goats.
That's part of it, yeah. And Richard made a comment early on the show, but so in the winter, one of our goats, he got this really big, and so when I was first starting to grow mine out after I retired, I would take a photo. I think I called it like Freedom Beard Friday, but it was like a photo of me and the goat, and like kind of comparing where we were at in our growth cycle. Unfortunately, his name's Joey. He shed his when the spring came, so I'm like, well, bro, I guess I win. So
yeah, Rich said he has a twin goat now. That was the comment.
He feels good because he beat his goat.
Hey, you got to have goals.
Small victories. Small victories. All right, Mr. Chris. Thank you for coming on here and hanging out with us. I'll reach out to you here shortly with mine and Candace's phone number. That way you'll have it. And can't wait to speak to your wife and see if she's interested in hosting. If not, just coming on as a guest. We'll make it work with her. And like I said, if you need anything from me or Candace, feel free to reach out to us anytime.
Will do. Thank you so much.
Hey, you're very welcome. You have a great night, buddy.
You too. Thanks.
You're welcome. Bye. How cool was that?
Pretty cool. Stan got to experience and witness the whole thing.
Oh my gosh.
That was not fun.
First podcast.
Well, welcome to the show, Mr. Stan. I'm glad you got to do your podcast cherry with the HomeFront Sitrep team.
I know. We'll have on here when we have our other Vietnam veterans on here because we got up from this event. We're gonna have what is it, Rosario and
Fritz.
Yeah,
I met him today.
Today?
Yeah,
is the first time you met him?
Yep, first time.
Oh, he's a hoot. He's been here every day on his little scooter. He zips through here. But yeah, that would be a lot of fun just to have all of our Vietnam vets that were here, and just we want to get you guys on and tell your story because a lot of people, that's not a story that they get to hear. And
that's true.
There's still going to be a lot of stories I'm sure they won't hear, which is fine. But whatever you guys would love to share, it's something that we think people should hear and understand a little bit more.
It'll break us out of our shell. And a lot of times when I speak to customers at the store, I'm proud of what I get to tell them. It's a story. Oops.
No, we're good. Okay. He just put you in the spotlight.
But it's something that I have a calling for. I feel strongly devoted to helping the veterans and just continuing what I can do whenever I can. Mm-hmm. It's whether it's, years ago down in Atlanta when I was living there, it was Toys for Tots. And then, of course, USO volunteers and just everything endless of just devoting my time and just trying to help out wherever I can.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh,
there he is.
Where'd you go, Willis?
Yeah, I'm still here. I was just staying the man up on the full screen there. Here, let's mute your mic. There you go. But no, guys, check out Chris Lancia on LinkedIn. He's an amazing guy, Army veteran, 25 plus years in the Army. His wife is Sarah. She's a veteran as well. He's doing great things for the state of Tennessee when it comes to like veteran service organizations and helping veterans families through the state government. You know, he's a liaison for the Tennessee Department of Veterans Affairs and also with the governor. So check if you live in the Tennessee area, definitely check them out. If you're in Kentucky, you know, we got KDVA, we got John Miles up in Frankfurt. John Miles is an amazing guy. So definitely check out, there's all kinds of things out there, man. But Candace, it's about that time, dear. It's about that time. Is the motorcycle still going?
That was Ratman.
Oh, that was Ratman in the car.
Ratman starting up the Pro One.
Oh no, you're good. I was saying it's about that time to head on out of here for the night. So,
Yes.
thank you for everything that you do, Candace, and you know you know you're behind the scenes, working there at the wall, taking care of things that need to be taken care of that people don't even need to be taken care of.
Well,
But that's what we do. You know, that's what we do.
it is. It is. We do what we should do, and that's what I love doing, and taking care of our veterans and our first responders, and is our heroes, and that's you know that's what I'm here for.
Yeah, definitely. That's what we're all here for, is to take care of the people that need to be taken care of. But we also got to remember that we got to take care of ourselves.
Sometimes.
Always got to take care of ourselves.
Sometimes.
Because
I worry about it sometimes.
I know, but if you don't take care of yourself, who's going to take care of you?
No, I know. You know, I know.
So we always got to take care of ourselves. But so Homefront has a segment called Ask Monica. So if you're out there, if you're a veteran and you've never filed your VA disability, or you're having trouble with your filing your VA disability, or you want a second opinion, you can reach out to askmonica0@gmail.com. And Monica, she's married to a retired lieutenant colonel for 35 plus years. She's got a doctorate in nursing. She's a badass. She does the VA. Yeah, she is a badass. She does all the stuff for VA disability in the state of Florida, but she can help you anywhere in the United States. So let's play that commercial real quick. Yeah. So you can reach out to Monica at askmonica0@gmail.com. And she's very, she will answer really quickly.
She's real quick.
Yeah. And then 988. If you're out there and you're in crisis, 988 star one if you're a veteran, 988 if you're not a veteran or a family member of a veteran, you can reach out to 988. And then this commercial, man, it just hits you because I've said everything that they write on this board. And you have to ask that next hard question. If you're talking to anybody, you have to ask that next hard question.
What?
I'll tell you later.
Oh.
But yeah, you have to ask that next hard question. So let's play that commercial. All right, we're back. What are y'all doing over there? I see y'all giggling.
Nothing.
Huh?
We're talking about like none of us actually had to be here, but here we are. You know, they said a Marine opened their mouth, and here we all are.
There you go. There you go. All right, my dear. Well, thank you. Are you doing taps tonight on Homefront Sitrep Live?
Yep.
All right, awesome.
But
And
that being said, tonight is the last to view this 9 o'clock tomorrow morning when they start tearing down, and it will be open for the rest of the night. Throughout the night, come check it out if you haven't yet. And it's not that they matter. A lot of the tents have cleared out, which is the least of what. But I believe that it's a little more humbling. So even if you've been here and you want to revisit, come see it before it leaves. There's a little rumor it's going to be back in Bullitt County in 2 years, but that's 2 years from now. So come see it tonight.
you definitely want to see it before it pulls out and heads to its next destination.
Especially with that Cost of Freedom tribute, I think that's extra special. It's so extra special.
Yes, it is.
Nothing better in here.
All right, Miss Candace, have a good night, and I'll talk to you soon. And like we always say on Homefront Sitrep, I gotta go, bro. It's that time. It's that time. But like we always say on Homefront Sitrep, stay safe out there. And we got your 6. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show.
Suggestions and comments are always welcome.
Cannot wait to have another great show with y'all.
Don't forget you can find HomeFront Sitrep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Stay safe out there. I got your 6.